Congresswoman, I start with you, your reaction to today's news.
Thank you, Nicole. Nice being with you. The wheels of justice sometimes are slow, but this is one step toward justice. I am the lead plaintiff in the NAACP's lawsuit in my personal capacity, a lawsuit that intends to hold Donald Trump, the Oath Keepers, and the Proud Boys accountable. No one is above the law, and I think this decision leads us to that. I was sitting on the floor during this attempted coup, and there are several members of Congress who have joined us in this lawsuit because this was an attack on our democracy. This was an attempted coup, and we're holding these individuals, the Oath Keepers, Proud Boys, Donald Trump, accountable because, once again, we're seeking real damages. We're seeking to make sure that they all are held accountable. And once again, this was a terrible, terrible attack on our democracy, but it also was a terrible attack on those who were in the Capitol that day. And the trauma and all of the damages and all of the impacts that all of us are still addressing need to be brought forth, and we have brought this forth in our lawsuit led by the NAACP. So this was a good day, again, one step towards justice for those who were trying to destroy our democracy.
Michael Steele, Mitch McConnell's position right now in the 2024 presidential election is that he will vote for Donald Trump if he's a Republican nominee. So we're not going to throw him any parades. But he did seem to very deliberately point the public, and in his capacity, he's rarely speaking to anyone other than Republicans, donors usually, to the criminal justice system and civil litigation. Do you think he's happy today?
I think there's that McConnell smile. If you know what that looks like, you know it's probably not recognizable like the one I have right now. But yeah, I think politically and otherwise, I think Mitch McConnell is not, he's not jumping up and down because it presents some other political party problems inside the party potentially. But in terms of the position he took on January 7th going forward, even on January 6th, yeah, I think he's true to his word about accountability and that you haven't gotten away with it yet. And I think he said that deliberately and for the reasons that Representative Lee just laid out. The process of justice is a slow process at times. And we do feel that, we don't, as citizens, have the upper hand or the advantage in this game, that the powerful and the wealthy always seem to manage to slip by. But this is a moment where that's not necessarily the case. And I think not just McConnell, but a lot of folks are looking very closely at what this means. A lot of emphasis, Nicole, has been placed on the criminal side of this. What this says is on the civil side, that's the weakest spot for the Oath Keepers and Trump and others, because, yeah, you may not be able to make that criminal case, but the civil case where there are damages, real damages, money damages that can be applied, yeah, that'll grab your attention. And certainly Donald Trump is probably not smiling today with that in front of him.
Okay, so Mary, let's dive into the legal substance of today's news. Let me read from the filing from DOJ. Quote, no part of a president's official responsibilities includes the incitement of imminent private violence. By definition, such conduct plainly falls outside the president's constitutional and statutory duties. It likewise falls outside any plausible understanding of the president's traditional function of speaking to the public on matters of public concern. As the nation's leader and head of state, the president has an extraordinary power to speak to his fellow citizens and on their behalf. But that traditional function is one of public communication and persuasion, not incitement of imminent private violence. To extend immunity to such incitement would contradict the constitutional heritage and structure that have informed and justified the doctrine of presidential immunity. It sounds like a pretty sweeping and unequivocal posture that DOJ is taking on not just his speech that day, but the role he was fulfilling. Is that an accurate read? And just take me inside what you see.
Well, I actually think that the Department of Justice was maybe a little bit more limited in that. And what they did is they said, rather than opine on whether all of the president's conduct was outside of his official duties, outside of what he is required to do under Article, not required, but bound and has the responsibility and duty to do under Article 2, rather than try to decide where all of the line drawing might be on what is an official duty and what is outside official duties, what the Department of Justice said is, here, because most of the plaintiff's claims, and plaintiffs may disagree with this, but the Department of Justice said because most of the plaintiff's claims are based on the president's speech that the parties have not, that no one has disputed, was incitement to violence, imminent violence, with a likelihood of such imminent violence occurred, which of course it did. What the Department of Justice said is, let's import First Amendment principles into this analysis. Incitement to imminent lawless activity or violence with a likelihood of such violence occurring is not protected by the First Amendment. So the Department of Justice said if it's not protected by the First Amendment, it shouldn't be protected by absolute immunity. And therefore, and what they said, and I'm just going to read it, is that in a court considering a claim seeking to hold a president liable for violence allegedly connected with his speech should deny absolute immunity only if the speech viewed objectively and in context both encouraged imminent private violence and was likely to produce such violence. So here, in a case like this, yes, it's pretty encompassing of the case, but they're trying to avoid answering more difficult cases that might come in some other case.
So let me play the speech and the result, because I think one of the lenses through which we examine everything that happens at DOJ, and Mary, you know this better than anybody, is through everything that's been presented to us as a public, in large part through the January 6th Select Committee. Here's Donald Trump telling his supporters what to do that day.
We're going to walk down to the Capitol, and we're going to cheer on our brave senators and congressmen and women. And we're probably not going to be cheering so much for some of them, because you'll never take back our country with weakness. We fight like hell. And if you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore.
And here, Congresswoman, is what resulted. Here are the officers testifying to exactly what those audience members went and did after they heard Trump say that.
I just remember that moment of stepping behind the line and just seeing the absolute war zone that the West Front had become.
I, too, was being crushed by the rioters. I could feel myself losing oxygen and recall thinking to myself, this is how I'm going to die, defending this entrance.
I was aware enough to recognize I was at risk of being stripped of and killed with my own firearm. I was electrocuted again and again and again with a taser.
Directly in front of me, a man seized the opportunity of my vulnerability, grabbed the front of my gas mask, and used it to beat my head against the door.
More than 6 months later, January 6th still isn't over for me. I've had to avail myself of multiple counseling sessions from the Capitol Police Employee Assistance Program, and I'm now receiving private counseling therapy for the persistent emotional trauma of that day.
Congresswoman, to this day, there's not been a nationally televised public apology to any of those individuals who testified before the country and before Congress under oath. To this day, the president's position is that the rioters who conducted the violence, after hearing Trump say, we fight like hell, and if you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore, end quote, is to consider pardoning all of them. Just talk about the case that will be made in court now that this can proceed.
Sure, and let me just say, to this day, it was the Capitol Police officers, our brave Capitol Police heroes, our heroes and sheroes who saved our lives. And so in our lawsuit, of course, the essence of it is that President Trump is not immune from the actions that he took that day. What he said, what he directed the insurrectionists, those who wanted to perpetuate a coup d'etat, which it was, attempted coup on the Capitol, on our democracy. the Proud Boys, the Oath Keepers. And it's important that we redress the harm. I mean, once again, Nicole, we had to try to put on our gas masks. We were told we had to hit the floor. We barely got out of the chambers before they came in. This was a dangerous moment, not only for individual members of Congress and the plaintiffs in our lawsuit, but it was dangerous in terms of our democracy. We prevailed, yes, but believe you me, we almost did not get out of there. And Donald Trump is not above the law. This lawsuit, we're waiting now for the D.C. Circuit to make its decision. But it's very important that we talk about redressing the harm that it has done, not only to us personally, but to our democracy. And no one is above the law, not Donald Trump, nor the Oath Keepers who we see and what they did, nor the Proud Boys. And once again, our police officers, our Capitol Police officers, deserve all of the credit. They deserve the credit for saving so many lives that day. And you hear and see now what they are going through. It's a moral disgrace. And we're going to keep on until we win this lawsuit. I think it's in the country's best interest to see that there are members of Congress in their personal capacities who are going to continue this fight until justice is done.